Ruth, that's wonderful. And I must say, I'm quite struck by the fact that the masks are being used to be stitched on. And just love that idea of plotting history, marking this as history, but using the masks. So fascinating. So, Ruth, wonderful to hear from you as a curator. And we really are delighted that we've got a flavor with artists as well. So Ruth, thank you. And what I want to ask the audience, would you be really brave and pop a question in the chat box for Ruth? So at the end, when each of the artists and Ruth has spoken, we're going to have time for some questions that Esther's going to manage. So if you have, Anne, I can see you've got your glass of wine. Pop a question in that chat box. I'm sure you have. So now we're going to move on to the first of our artists, and delighted to tell you a bit more about Miranda Creswell. And I will say that I have learnt an enormous amount about her. She studied at Camberwell University of Arts in London. And having met Miranda, and I've known each other for many years, but only just caught up recently. And I was delighted to hear Miranda has this ability to get funding. So Miranda, I don't know if it's that you're particularly good at filling in those forms, but actually you have that ability to get funding and to collaborate. And so you've been an artist in residence, as I understand, at the Nuffield Orthopedic Hospital. You've been an artist in residence in Paris. I had to have a pronunciation. I don't speak French, I'm afraid. I'm going to leave that to you, Miranda. And also, so this is the real beauty of how Miranda works, that she's been an artist in residence with Horatio's Garden. And Miranda, I did find it fascinating doing some research and saw that one of the centres that you have worked with is the Spinal Treatment Centre in Salisbury. And this is a picture of Horatio's Garden and Stephen Hackett's that Miranda's going to tell us more about later. And also that there are various Horatio Gardens around the country, Glasgow being one of them. And Miranda does, again, another gift you have, Miranda, is this ability to collaborate with academia. And that's a particular gift that you have. And I know that when we chatted 2 weeks ago about this, that this book had just been published. So, and you've been working on it, I do believe, for 5 years. Give us a thumbs up. Is it 5 years, Maria? Two thumbs up. 5 years. So just wonderful how you've been collaborating with the School of Archaeology. And so really bringing a different approach to being an artist. And we look forward to hearing from you. So as we do know now, and Miranda, you know, that I will be asking you these two questions. Looking back, how have you responded to COVID? And then looking ahead, how or what will you carry forward? So Miranda, delighted to hear from you in terms of looking back, how you responded to COVID.
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. It's lovely to see lots of artistic faces and people who are interested in the arts across the screens. It's fantastic. So how I responded to COVID is probably fairly similar to a lot of other people. A kind of feeling kind of vulnerable, and how to cope with this strange, extraordinary phenomena that came along out of nowhere, it seemed. And that vulnerability for me was twinned with water, strangely. And actually, maybe I'll start with the first slide, if you wouldn't mind, Diane, putting it on. The first slide is here, and this is a detail of a drawing which was commissioned by Roof Charity and in collaboration with the hospital school and funded by Oxford Hospital Charity. And it's so exciting because it hasn't gone up yet. And this is just a detail. To give you an idea, this drawing is 2.5 meters long by 1.5 meters. It's made with just simple pencil and paper. It's very, very simple. and yet it portrays 42 different species of plant and insect and animals and fish. They're all endangered, so they're highly endangered, all these particular animals. So for instance, at the back, you probably can see a hare and a sea otter. We have a penguin and a bumblebee, which is a yellow bumblebee, which is from Scotland. They all come from different places in the world. There's this lemur here and a Homer butterfly from Jamaica. They're all from different places, and yet they're kind of talking to each other. And this is the idea that it kind of gave a nod to the extraordinary thing that happens in a hospital when people arrive in a hospital and basically sit next door to people who are also in a vulnerable state, and you have to communicate and you have to support each other. So this drawing is going to be put in the waiting area of a ward called the Tom's ward, which is the oncology, near the oncology children's hospital. And so if you can imagine, people sitting there are feeling very vulnerable. And I was wondering how to calm this drawing, how to make it, because my natural probably disposition is to make very vigorous work, but I didn't really feel that was quite what was needed here. It needed to be calm. And so over the top of the work, there's a high horizon line, and the high horizon line is a sea, and the sea is calm. And this strange calmness kind of made sense with me when COVID happened, because if we could have a second slide, I carried on my outdoor swimming. And this picture is me swimming in fact, January. The water temperature is very, very cold. And I found myself doing this throughout the summer and then throughout the winter. And then we'll probably have the next slide, actually, it would be handy if you could put it on, and started painting these paintings, which before I hadn't really been painting like this before. It suddenly kind of all came out, and this is a feeling of human vulnerability in water, in calming water. And so this is called Balanced. I quite like the amount of water to the smallness of the human being here. And the next slide will show you other work. This, for instance, on the left is called First Light in the River. And in the winter months, there's extraordinary sun dawns that are very, very vigorous, in fact. And these were all from my imagination, but they were just memories of the feeling of immersing myself in the water. And here on the right is Venus and the Moon, where it was one time when I swam in moonlight. So these were the pictures that I made at that time. So in answer to your question, it was kind of vulnerability and water. So yeah, that's the answer to the first question.
Miranda, thank you. And I just find that so inspirational, seeing that picture of you swimming, and in January, oh my goodness, and then to know that your art has come from that. So thank you. It helps me as a non-artist to understand more, but really now also are curious, just as we were with Ruth, what are you going to carry forward as you look ahead?
So I was interested, I've always been interested in collaborations, and I'm interested in putting work out in different domains. I'm fascinated by that. And I realized that the museums were closed, the art galleries were closed, all entertainment was closed, and the only places where people went were parks, and parks became very, very important. And the river became important for me in a park. I did a project a year ago, probably, or no, 2 years ago now, with a lovely curator called Sarah Mossop, and she suggested that I could put an original work in a notice board and have, for a few days. And I extended that idea because I love the idea of the very simple notice board, the kind of lowly notice board, being used not for a jumble sale or not for a safety rule, but an actual watercolor. So, and not a reproduction, I have to emphasize, the actual watercolor. So again, vulnerability is coming to the fore here. So with this idea, I decided to contact a group of archaeologists and a wonderful group of archaeologists, and they're called, actually this is the last slide, so could you possibly put, yes, but yes, so this is Horatius Garden again, but to kind of come back, I decided to go to this group, to ask this group of archaeologists who were studying rivers, and they're studying rivers from the Iron Age and Bronze Age. They have a big program. And I suggested that we could put my work and their work together near river sites that were in the public domain. So this site is in Horatius Garden in Salisbury. And here you have on the left, Stephen Hackett, who's the head gardener, and Olivia Chappell, the founder member of Horatius Garden, and myself on the right. And this is one of my paintings. So the interesting here is that the notice board is at the right height for a wheelchair. This is an outside domain, and the watercolor will stay up here for a month. So we might have the next slide, please. And these notice boards, we've now have got 11 notice boards. We've got funding from Oxford University, and Courtney Nomura, who is who works as part of the research group. She's an amazing person, and she took this idea on board and helped us get funding. And I couldn't have done it without her. And that last public notice board you see is somewhere in Lancashire. And it's called Astley Hall, and it's a very small notice board, but I heard last week that it had 8,000 people go past it in the last 4 weeks. And so that is the amount of people you might get in a park that come through quite often. And so our 11 sites, we hope, will have more. And then lastly, I just want to say it's so exciting because not only do you get a good lot of people coming through and looking at culture in a different way, but they've decided to take ownership over the idea of the notice board, and they are fundraising to make their own notice board where they can put other artists' work. So it has a legacy. So that, Diane, is yeah, it's very exciting.
Miranda, that's wonderful, and I can hear your excitement, and actually just so wonderful that you're leaving a legacy and are really inspiring others as a result of your response to COVID. So thank you so much.